Welcome, I am Eric with Vast Strength. In this video, we are going to be discussing the fun size bars of the home gym world, the Shorty bars, otherwise known as short barbells. Much like the fun size bars of the candy bar world, these bars are the more compact versions compared to their full size siblings. Specifically, I'll address the ins and outs of Shorty bars, the pros and cons of them, and whether they might make sense in your home gym. I will have another video at a later date in which I'll go over the Shorty bars that are available out in the marketplace, and that'll include not only straight bars, but also specialty bars as well. If you have any insights or questions about Shorty bars, please feel free to leave them in the comments. If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. Let's get to it. In order to understand what a Shorty bar is, we have to first understand short relative to what. For the purposes of this video, we are going to be focusing on straight bars. Now, specialty bars can have Shorty bar versions as well, but they're not uniform in their design, so we're going to make our conversation simpler by focusing on the straight bars. But keep in mind, the same things that we'll discuss with the straight bars largely applies to the specialty bars as well. In discussing a straight bar, the standard by which we're going to compare is a male, full-sized Olympic barbell. In that case, it's 7 feet in length, 20 kilograms in weight, or 45 pounds. The female official Olympic barbell is 6.5 feet in length with a weight of 15 kilograms or 33 pounds. Most of the time, a short barbell is going to be 6 feet or less in length and typically also 33 pounds or less in weight. In order to properly understand a Shorty bar, we have to understand the anatomy of a barbell. So, with a barbell, the middle portion, which is going to contribute to most of the length of the bar, is considered the shaft. With the shaft on each end, you're going to find the collars, and then at each end of the barbell on the other side of the collars is going to be your sleeves. Now, the shaft is obviously where you're going to interface with the bar. This is also where you're going to rack the bar, okay? So that's the essential aspect of this part of the barbell. So if you're going to want to do exercises like barbell squats or barbell presses where you need to start in a rackable position, then you're going to have to worry about the length of the shaft. Now the collars, they contribute minimally to the overall length of the bar, so for the purpose of this video, we're going to ignore them. The sleeves, of course, are very important, as that's where we're going to be loading the weight onto the bar. As the sleeves get shorter, obviously we can load less weight onto the bar. This segues nicely in discussing the cons of a short bar. First off, you have to think about the width of your power rack. So the outer width of a power rack is generally between 47 and 49 inches. As the bar shaft gets more narrow, it'll be more difficult to rack the bar, and if it gets below that 47 to 49 inches, you're no longer going to be able to rack it at all. For instance, the bar I have below it, although it appears to be sitting in the J-cups, is actually not racked appropriately, because this is a non-rackable Shorty bar. If instead we take the length from the sleeves, then we're obviously going to affect the amount of weight we can put on the bar, and that is a significant negative that's difficult to overlook. Another negative related to the fact that the bars are shorter and lighter is the fact that that affects the balance. So they can have a different feel compared to their regular sized versions. As I indicated earlier, the weights of the short bars can vary quite a bit. Again, generally anywhere from 23 to 33 pounds. With that in mind, that does change what they call the plate math. Now, when we're discussing plate math, what we're referring to is specifically when you put a plate on the sleeves, if you have a 45 and a 45 with a barbell that's the typical 45-pound weight, a lot of lifters can look at that and instantly know that's 135 pounds. If you had two 45s each side, 225, or 315. And it's very quick math for people that have spent a lot of time working out in the gym. So for those people, not being able to easily perform the plate math may be a negative that they're not willing to overlook. The final con I'd like to discuss in regards to Shorty bars is the fact that you're severely limited in regards to your selection when compared to the full-length versions. This is especially true if you consider the specialty bars. Even in the case in which you find a flagship bar that has a Shorty bar option you like, you are still likely going to be limited by your ability to customize or personalize that bar. For example, this bar that's sitting right here in front of you is the Shorty bar version of a flagship design from one of the major companies. If you get this Cerakote bar in the standard length version, you'll have a number of different colors from which you can choose. But when you get this Shorty bar version, it comes in black, and that's your only option. So if you're someone that values the ability to customize and personalize your gym equipment, Shorty bars do have significant limitations in that regard. Let's get positive and discuss some of the pros of a Shorty bar. The most obvious one is that, well, it's short. And because it's short and takes up a smaller footprint, you might be able to use a Shorty bar in an area where otherwise you would not be able to use a standard length bar. So maybe that allows you to get a deadlift area using a 60-inch bar versus an 84-inch bar into a spot that otherwise you couldn't. Maybe you can get a power rack in a spot that otherwise you could not. So space is a valuable commodity for the home gym enthusiast, especially when, like me, you're working out of a basement gym, this one being in one of my basement bedrooms. So if you have something that can allow you to utilize that resource more efficiently and effectively, it's a win. The other huge benefit of Shorty bars is the fact they are significantly more maneuverable than the full-length versions. Now, that's not only because the bars are shorter, which they are, but it's also because the bars are lighter. With a straight bar, you could have the bar be as easily 13 pounds lighter than its full-length version. With some of the specialty bars, you can be talking about 30 pounds between the short and the full-length version. So that significant difference makes a huge benefit for being able to maneuver the bar in and out of the power rack, especially when you're dealing with the tight spaces that people encounter in your home gym. This segues nicely into discussing the other benefit of having that lighter weight, which is you have a lighter starting weight for people who may be weaker or may be newer. And that includes also youth and seniors who may benefit from a lower starting weight. The fact that the bars are lighter and more compact also might mean that you're going to have cheaper shipping costs. And even if you don't experience cheaper shipping costs, there's at least a cheaper shipping cost in the aggregate for the home gym community. Now, another big benefit in regards to cost is that frequently the Shorty bars will be significantly cheaper than the full-length versions. It does vary, and it can vary fairly dramatically. When you're talking about the straight bars, it really varies anywhere from about $0 to $65, typically being in more the $20 to $30 range. When you're talking about specialty bars, there are some bars that went as high as $100 difference between the Shorty bar version and the full-length version. So, although arguably, probably the price difference is more of a bonus than a huge benefit, it's a bonus that I'm always glad to have. The last pro I'd like to discuss might be a little bit more contentious. The reason being that everything I've discussed up to this point has been largely based on fact. But my next point is based on a little bit of conjecture and a little bit of personal experience. Although I would argue that I do think it makes intuitive sense. And that is that using Shorty barbells makes for a quicker, easier, and safer experience for setting up your lifts. Not necessarily the lifts themselves, but I think the setup becomes significantly better. The reason being it's less awkward, and I think it's also safer loading the weights. Now, that benefit is probably less so when you're talking about a less cramped home gym environment, but I think when you're dealing with a really cramped space, having the Shorty bars can make the loading of weights significantly easier and safer. And let me try to demonstrate it if I can. So, I'm going to go get a weight. As you can see, I had enough space that I could get in between the bar and the wall and allow myself to get this weight on in a nice, ergonomic, stable fashion. Now, if instead I didn't have that room, and let's instead say that the wall ended here and I don't have the space to get in, then I'm going to have to load the weight in a awkward fashion. Now, maybe that's not the big deal. Maybe it's not the end of the world. And maybe if you're only doing it a couple times per session, the risk of injury is probably nominal. But I would argue if you're doing this day in and day out with all of your workouts, your risk of injury is higher, even if maybe not significantly so, but still higher. Keeping those pros and cons in mind, let's transition and start discussing whether a shorty bar might make sense in your home gym. Some of the recommendations I'm about to discuss are fairly straightforward and I think fairly simple to recommend. Other recommendations are a little bit more murky and a little bit more complex. First, if you have a home gym in which your spaces are very cramped, then I think the shorty bar is an easy recommendation and you'll likely be very happy with it. If you're going to be doing any competitive lifting and you're going to be using, for instance, an official barbell, I would recommend training obviously with the length and weight bar that you're going to be using in competition. Again, train with what you're planning on competing with. And I think that's a fairly easy recommendation as well. If the aesthetics of your gym matter a lot, or you would like to have the ability to personalize or customize your barbell, then again, you may prefer to go with a standard length bar. So if you're one of those folks who really wants to have that lime green shaft with the black chrome sleeves so that it matches your alien aesthetic of your home gym, then probably shorty bars aren't your best option. The next issue I'd like to discuss is a little bit more complex, and that is whether the weight issues that come into play because of the short sleeves of a shorty bar are going to be a problem for you in your home gym. Now, I think that breaks down into three main concerns. One, what kind of plates are you going to be using? If you're going to be using old school crumb rubber bumper plates, then you're not going to be able to load near as much on the bar due to the significant width of those plates. If though, instead you're using some of the newer plates that are coming out that are quite thin, not only in iron or steel, but even some of the newer bumper plates, then you might still be able to load plenty of weight on that bar and it won't be an issue. Issue number two, or concern number two, is what kind of lifts are you going to be doing? If you're planning on, for instance, doing skull crushers and curls, well, maybe it's not going to be a problem. If, however, you're going to be doing lifts that often people lift at quite heavy weights, like deadlifts or squats, for instance, then it may be a possibility that you're going to be closer to maxing out your bar. The third issue is, well, how strong are you? If you're like me, sadly, I've never maxed out, I think, the sleeves of any bar I've ever used, whether that's a full-length bar or a shorty bar. It may not be an issue. But if you're someone who's quite strong, maybe you're involved in strongman competitions or powerlifting or bodybuilding, then you might be able to max out the bar and it may not make sense for you in your home gym. On the flip side of that discussion, if you're someone who would benefit from the lower starting weight that the shorty bars provide, such as a beginner, youth, a senior, or someone who maybe just isn't quite as strong, then the shorty bar might have a lot of benefits for you. A major issue for a lot of folks is going to be the plate math. The fact that shorty bars often have an atypical weight that throws off the plate math is going to be a significant problem for some. Now, hear me out though. Half of the phrase plate math is the word math, and we're not talking about algebra here. It's pretty basic, so I would still hope that you might be able to consider it. I think it's especially less of an issue if you're at home consistently working out with your own bar, as you're going to get used to that weight. Where I do think it's more of a problem is if you're someone who might have a less consistent location where you're working out. So let's say you work out not only in your home gym, but also at a commercial gym and maybe at gyms when you're traveling. In that case, not having the consistent bar, it probably just makes more sense to go with a standard length bar so that it's easier to track your progress and follow the weights you're using for your lifts. The next issue I'm going to discuss is a little bit complex and probably a lot contentious. And the reason is, it's my assertion that the shorty bars, when compared to their full length versions, are quicker, easier, and safer to set up. If you, at any point during this video, or when I just said that, screamed at the screen or felt the need to type in all capitals that lifting's meant to be hard, bro, I hear you. And I don't disagree. Lifting is supposed to be hard. The lifts are supposed to be hard. But I would argue that the setup is not supposed to be hard, and that the setup should not put you at risk for injury, or at least diminish the risk as much as possible. And again, that's somewhere where I think the Shorty bars really do shine and can be beneficial for you in your home gym. Even if you've heard all this discussion and you've decided that it doesn't sound like Shorty bars are for you, I would still challenge you that maybe there's a niche use in your gym where you might still see some benefit. For example, maybe you have a small area of your gym where you'd love to do deadlifts, but you're just not going to be able to get a 7-foot bar there. Well, how about a 5-foot open hex trap bar? Maybe that's a good option. Or maybe you're someone who'd like to do more landmine work and you'd like to also have the benefit of using it in your actual power rack. Well, a short bar might be a much better fit for you in that regard than what a full-length standard bar would be. So please keep those niche uses in mind, and maybe there's some other use that I'm not thinking about that you might. If you do, please add that in the comments and I'd love to hear them. After watching this video, I hope that you are able to decide whether Shorty bars make sense for your home gym. Are they the bars that, similar to the fun-size bars of the candy bar world, are just too short, just too disappointing, and overall unfulfilling when compared to the full-length version? Or are you like me and you appreciate the fun-size bars of the home gym world because they're more compact, they're cheaper, and there's always room for one more? If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And as always, get strong, be smart, stay safe. Thanks for watching.